Good morning. Hopping on just a little bit early to chat with you guys this morning. If you hear some noises in the background, my dogs like to eat at around 8 a.m. here in my time. But today, something very important that I wanted to say in case someone is watching this not live. Well, we're going to look at some stuff towards the end of this video. And really what we're paying attention to today is, are we going to actually create some kind of reversal signals in these buy zones? And that's the key thing, because if we don't see this show up here, we could see it start to show up at lower levels. So we really are just being patient and seeing if that actually sets up for us. We do have some weekly expected moves, 597.33 for the SPY to the upside, 574.17 to the downside for the weekly expected move for the SPY. And we do have daily ones, 589.86 to the upside and 581.64 to the downside. As we flip over to the Qs, once again, looking for reversal signals. Looking for reversal signals. We're going to talk about this further this morning since we do have a little time. And the main thing here is weekly expected moves. Are we going to make these signals over here in a buy zone? And maybe we can pay attention to some weekly and daily expected moves. 510.47 for the Qs to the upside. And we do have 482.67 to the downside. And good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Frankie. How you doing? Orchid, how you doing this morning? So daily expected moves, we do have 501.32. and 491.82 to the downside. So you're noticing this is in our daily expected move. I mean, we'll see what happens with this, but for the most part, if we would react up like this and then react down, that would be the look we are kind of looking for, if that is going to form here. Okay, so going back over to the SPY, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit further, right? Because we're looking for something like this, right? Notice that it happened right here, something like this. The divergence down here, you see that on the MACD, you see that on the RSI at the same time, pointing slightly up. We get one more dip down and buys back up. Okay, if we go back even further, we can see we got it here. This was one trade setup that we actually did fine, and we found this because it came outside of a monthly expected move, came down for the double bottom, major look for divergence, good curl up into positive territory, and we break above the highs and head a little bit higher. Okay, so we're looking for this. Notice this could have happened up in these areas, which is kind of what we're looking at now. Are we going to actually drop even lower, right? Are we going to see it like the last time we experienced a big drop, we make those signals and we reverse around, or are we going to see the big drop even further and make them in a lower point? You want to react when you see that actually confirm. You want to react when you actually see those reversal signals confirm. As they are forming, we can just be patient. I can just sit here, I can be patient. Maybe I can look at another stock or something like that. Maybe I can even pay attention. Is volatility moving how I think it should? Well, as of right now, I'd say, hey, little pop higher, little shelf in here. We'll see if we have another drop in us. Maybe we create that divergence quickly, right? What if we just create that divergence right now, and then we see that divergence in the SPY at the same time? So that's something I would be paying attention to, looking for volatility. I still think this does have the opportunity to drop a little bit more and then see that reaction, but just because I think it doesn't mean it has to happen. The stock market likes to do what the stock market wants to do. And we're just going to pay attention to the signals. And if we do get a hint that this is going to go up, then we will be notifying you, just like we did right here, just like we did right over here, just like we did right over here, just like we did right over here. This was when the Qs had that divergence as well, or I think this was the NVIDIA divergence actually, but this was outside of a monthly, this was outside of a monthly, this is inside the monthly. So we'll pay attention to it, but we just got to see if that forms, because this could drop down all the way down to 536.79 by the end of the month, right? That monthly expected move is down there. And you're seeing these weeklies start to shift down. So really just being patient is why I'm mentioning all of these things. And good morning, Charles. I hope you guys are doing good this morning. As some people do trickle in, I wanted to let you guys know it is storming really, really bad at my house, and apparently they're going to have to work on some power lines in like an hour and a half. That's why I am jumping on the live stream a little bit early. So we may have to hop off a little bit early on this live stream if I can. If everything's fixed, I might jump on a live video later today. So give some likes to the video, and towards the end, we'll look at what is shaping up in the morning. As of right now, we're getting that bounce. So if we're going to curl up on this MACD, we're still a little bit deep into negative territory. You can see where we made the reversal signal last time is actually at the same exact level that we were at the last time. So if we're going to see something similar to this, that would be fantastic. That would be awesome. We have a perfect example just a few days ago. I really like it. All right, if that would set up, that's when we pay attention, that's when we react. And then we just have to keep in mind, there's not a ton of data this week, But there is NVIDIA earnings. And so that's something to keep in the back of your mind throughout this week is NVIDIA earnings can really shake things up. All right, just make sure to note that. I believe NVIDIA earnings is, let me see, NVIDIA dropping down early on here, giving that 2 hour to pull down even deeper. But NVIDIA earnings is, I believe, Wednesday night. Okay, so Wednesday night we'll get that price action Thursday morning. Something to note here for NVIDIA, it is giving you a major reversal signal. It is. You know, NVIDIA is the one that is really giving you, I think it's NVIDIA, Amazon, and Google looked the worst at the end of last week, and then those produced on Friday, right? So we see the downside on Friday. Now, the good part about this is we notice it, but we do know about earnings. That can be a 50-50 flip. So I'm really going to be paying attention to volatility signals from the SPY and the Qs to figure out, you know, which way those are going. I'm not necessarily going to trade NVIDIA or something this week, right? It's just going to be difficult. It's very high up. A lot of people might be convinced to take puts, and then they say one good thing and the stock goes up. Oh, it's very high up, and everyone thinks, oh, NVIDIA can't fall, so everyone takes calls, and then they say one bad thing and it falls. You have no idea how this thing could play out. You have no idea if they're actually going to dig into the revenues and find that illegal activity that they're most likely doing, that SMCI was doing. There's already rumors of that coming out. But overall, I don't think NVIDIA is a bad company overall. I just have thought for the past 6 months that they are doing something funky with their earnings. There is talk that they are putting projected earnings as real earnings on their balance sheet. And if that comes to light, that won't be pretty, but I don't want to read into much of that. I'm just like, hey, earnings, 50-50 flip. I can't get an edge there. So if I do anything here, I'm most likely gambling a little bit. Which that's what the fun account's for. So maybe we'll do something with it. But thank you guys for being here this morning. Thank you guys for watching the videos over the weekend. I think there was some good stuff on there. And Frost Fox, morning, good morning, good morning. But the main thing we just want to see, guys, is practicing patience will be a very, very easy thing this week because we do not see any kind of reversal signals. How we know, like the one way that we're not going to see these reversal signals pop up and then we're just, and by reversal, because, you know, people want me to be clear, this came down. I'm talking about if we build a reversal signal from what has happened last week and we actually turn in the upward direction. So when I say reversal signal on the 30-minute, when I'm talking about that, I am talking about something like this that ended up producing a big pop, skipping that sell zone. Very good. So we can use it as a buy zone. So the main thing here is being patient can be fine. And then if we're going to see some, like if this was a big blip and this is going to go this way, we're just going to see a 2-hour cross up into positive territory early on in the week. All right, most likely we're just going to see this thing curl up into positive territory and then we're going to do something like this. And that's a move that I would watch out for. As far as risk for a downward, like a more serious downward move than this, because this is outside of a monthly expected move, and this is kind of what we're looking for to build over the next few days. So if that does come to fruition, we might end up with some kind of corrective move. If we can kind of consolidate, man, it's just you're already at a point where if you did make that move, you would still be in the month of November. So you're kind of hoping that this takes a while or even goes down lower, and then we leak this into, say, into December. Because if we make a reversal signal outside of monthly, it's never been good. It's never been good. NVIDIA experienced this big drop when that happened. We pointed that out. Monthly was here, dropped way down from there at the very last day of October. So that was ugly. We've seen some crazy moves from the SPY during those monthly times, right? So if we see moves outside of these monthlies, we have to be paying attention. That's just a big deal there. All right, anyone want to look at something fun this morning? We have a few minutes until the open here, 10 minutes until the open. Who wants to look around at some stuff? And good morning, Bernie. Hope everyone's doing good out there. Thank you guys always for leaving a like. Once again, just so you know, they are working on, we have a big storm here right now. The wind's going crazy. My little dog almost got blown away. The big dogs were fine, you know, they're heavy. But just to know, I might have to hop off a little bit earlier in like an hour or so, just because the power lines or something like that needs fixing. So And if I can, I will go live later today if they're able to fix that to give you guys a little bit more time. Meta, Marco wants to look at Meta real quick. Meta is one of the confusing ones, I will admit that. This is one where we really have to see what develops. So I really want to see, because right now the only thing I can really take away from Meta is you're potentially, I mean, there's your kind of wall that you need to get through to really go higher, which I'm not drawing this the absolute best, but you can see how that's there. And then if we really take these points here, you can see how we're really spreading out. I'll take this point right there. You'll notice that we're just kind of expanding out. So what you'd really like to see here is most likely see some form of tightness and then get an explosive move. And then you want to see what happens in this area. But it's just kind of a interesting one because you're kind of in this weird expanding wedge and you're starting to see these big swings up and down. So something that I would like to form is obvious signals. Are the signals very obvious here? Not necessarily. So if this 2 hour is going to make a move like this, you got to see weakness and momentum to the downside, right? So we have to see on the 30-minute that this is so deep into negative territory. Okay, this is very deep into negative territory. So if this wants to reverse around, you're probably going to need some kind of stronger base. You're going to need something like this, and that would lead you into maybe NVIDIA earnings. If you're able to carve all this out, that would be the look where I start to pay attention. These are bigger swings, so if I can find a reversal signal, I might see a big swing from Meta. So I kind of like it, actually, if it would form a good signal. Am I seeing it right now? No, you got to be patient, wait for time, because there is a chance that on the daily scale, you're about to roll negative. So that's why I'm saying, do you see how important it is when this daily is crossed over? Isn't that a little scarier, right? So you're like, okay, if this is crossed over, I need to make sure there are reversal signals in here to turn up that 2 hour because this daily is still in positive territory. Then you want to look at the weekly. We can see that that weekly blip has happened, and that should really freak you out as far as Meta goes. So on the macro side of things, Meta is showing extreme weakness here. Okay, Meta is showing extreme weakness for the weekly scale. That confirmed last week. You see how dramatic that divergence is. So this tells me, you know, I would like to see if some kind of reversal signal pops up, but am I convinced that this is just going to get rid of that crossing over of the weekly? Well, one thing to pay attention to is, what did we say about the SPY when we said, oh, look, this election could be bad. Oh, we're going to get a bounce a little bit after the election. Maybe we'll hit the sell zone and sell off. But remember what we said about the weekly. That was a blip because it didn't close below the 9. This time, you are seeing this cross on the MACD. You are seeing confirmation below the 9. Okay? So you have major divergence across all of this for Meta, and that means watch out because this could get a little sketchy to the downside. Now, there's always opportunities to buy yourself more time, right? We see these weekly bars, right? You see these weekly bars. Well, I mean, you open here, you react up first. So in the shorter time frames, we can see price action to the upside. So that's why we're paying attention. We're seeing, is this a blip? Is this some kind of confirmation at this point? Well, the difference between this and the SPY back in the day is this is a confirmation because you are below the 9. That's a more serious confirmation. And if you want to see what I'm talking about, notice the SPY here. You see this little red bar on your histogram for the MACD. This is when we were talking about it, but we quickly said, hey, this could be some kind of blip, because when it did happen, you weren't, and you'll notice it even now, but it was worse because the line was more here. You weren't closing below the 9 when this bar happened. So that could be a blip. And then what did we set up in that at that exact time was a reversal signal. So that's what we're looking for Meta, is a reversal signal. What's good, Polar Bear Man? How you doing? Netflix is just screaming higher. I thought they would see some weakness because of that fight that they really butchered. Okay, they are seeing some weakness. You're getting a retest of the 5. You do have some flat divergence across the way with a couple of turn-ups in it, so it's not the best reversal signal, very flat. This usually means, hey, this could be a 2-hour pullback, like a light 2-hour pullback, or just a deeper 30-minute pullback. So this is great. It is testing the 5-day moving average. If you're new to this channel, this staggered line is a 5-day moving average. The reason that we have the 5-day on is because in uptrends, a lot of the time you're just going to retest that 5 and keep going higher. So from Netflix, you notice we get this rapid move up, we gravitate to the 5, we bounce, we ride the 5 sideways, and then we just bounce off it with a wick there, and then we keep going. Now we're retesting it. So there's two things to pay attention to here. Are we in a deeper 2-hour pullback, or are we going to see the 30-minute cross up into positive territory and set some kind of trap? That's what it looks like. If you did happen to take the course and you know the way that we teach you to make those weekly expected moves, a very easy way, Netflix would be a good one to do that, because if you see a move like this and then you see that 30-minute divergence, that's not going to be a good sign. Now let's talk about the other side of this. I just want to dig deep, because we do have a couple more minutes here, into some of these ones you guys are talking about. As far as the 2-hour goes, does this say, right, we said that 30-minute looks like, hey, just a light 2-hour pullback, or maybe a more meaningful one. It still can be, right? If we lose that 5, it's been a good move. It can pull back pretty deep. So what we want to pay attention to is, do we have big reversal signals here for Netflix giving us a hint? It doesn't mean it can't go down without those signals. It just means, are we getting a hint for a trade setup? Well, you have this very flat divergence here for the MACD, and you have nothing for the RSI. Nothing for the RSI. Okay, so that tells me most likely if this does pull down to deeper prices, you are going to see that reaction up again and then create that reversal signal as far as a trade setup goes, right? And this is kind of what we would be looking for with that confirmation, That's what I would be looking for more of a bigger top. A bigger top there. And then if you don't make those divergences, then you're still in that uptrend. That's why we play both sides. That's why we pay attention to both, right? This could be a simple swing trade to the upside. If you want to talk positively about this, if Netflix did this and pulled down to, say, 790 and then curled up into positive territory, that means it most likely does have a chance to take out this high, maybe go make a new one. Maybe we reach up towards 860. Well, at that entry point, that would be another 50 points. Right? So there's the positive side right there, is if this gets by the center line and curls up, I have a simple swing trade. What happened during this time? A simple swing trade, right? We get down to that center line, we see that break to the upside, one more retest of the 5, and boom. All it was a curl up of the MACD near the center line. That's what we're looking for positivity from a lot of stocks out there right now. DJT, the 2-hour did confirm. Okay, DJT does have a big signal. We actually do need to talk about this morning. Okay, DJT, this is a massive signal. Okay, the 2-hour has confirmed. One thing I want you to notice here is it's not confirming in a super positive way. All right, the confirmation of this bar was on a flat, if not, it was barely positive bar. It is holding it, that's good. But one thing that you're noticing, if that is going to produce, yeah, it says, hey, I can be in this. Right? I can be in this. I can see the divergence. I can see how obvious that divergence is. It got more significant between the recent ones. So triple divergence down there for the 2-hour, saying the daily can turn up. So one thing I want to look at is, well, is the daily by that center line? Does it look like a simple swing trade or something like that? Is it okay to get in early here? Is this looking okay? Yes, it does. It's right by the center line. And does it have reversal signals saying like this could easily fail? No, it doesn't. So you could be seeing the next move from DJT very, very soon. Now, we just talked about we're in a 2-hour move here. If I took the play on that bar, okay, awesome. Now what do I need to do immediately? What do we do at the end of the course down there? That's 90% off until November 31st, only a little bit of time left, but what do we do during that time? Can someone who take the course answer, how do we manage a 2-hour trade? What chart do we use to actively manage our 2-hour trades? Someone out there's got to get it. Manage on the 30, perfect. Okay, now if you want to learn more about this management on the 30, that course is down there in the description. Very, very good, Onda. I love to see that response. So you notice the 30-minute, we are opening up. What could we do on the 30-minute to really make this a great trade if this is going to confirm down? If this is going to confirm down, it says that 2-hour does not really want to head up anymore. It's going to head down for the time being, so that could cross, and that gets a little scary. You're reacting to the 5, and then you could see another curl down. If we're going to hold this tapering, and then we curl down on this MACD, and we curl right back up, what would you have down there? You would have a positive divergence there, a positive divergence there. Right? So if we're able to react down, maybe I even have a weekly expected move, and I know that's like at 25.75, we cut below that. I don't have that, but if we do, that's what you would do. So if you're really paying attention to DJT, this is what you're looking for, right? this would be the best basing out signals for DJT to turn up that daily for the daily swing trade before the swing trade happens. So if you take both courses down there, swing trading and this, you can see how I'm putting both of them together and saying, okay, the opportunity can be here. And the opportunity might be there right now because that 2 hours crossed. But if this 30-minute does cross down, it would suggest it needs to reach down, grab some buyers, show us that weakness and momentum on the shorter time frame, and then turn up and say, okay, now that's going to be a good move. That's what I would be paying attention to for DJT. We will check back in with this. We know that this stock is actively fought against, by the way. It's kind of like AMC and GME, just not as big of the problem going on in it. So it will see big runs and big drops. So if this crosses, does it have to make the divergence? Does it have to do this? No, it can just fall through the floor. Okay, that daily can go negative. So what we want to see is actual confirmation of the signals, and then we make a decision, and then we can manage the trade throughout. If that 2 hour is turned up, then you can manage it again on the 30. If that daily turns up, we can start to manage on the 2 hour. So here you go. You're seeing it start to come down, which is something that is actually okay, right? If we're being patient and you say, hey, this cross is okay, not the time, or maybe you just say, I'm going to scale in, I'm very confident in it, but most of the time I say, hey, just cut the loss for a little bit of money. That way you're not risking it in case this falls through the floor. And then you just go, okay, this turned back around. Now I can reapply that money and get the same position, most likely even cheaper. Great job, Honda. Very quick response. I love to see it. That is awesome. One thing I noticed is gold actually getting that love that we were talking about. Very interesting from gold that it was just turning down like crazy. Just dropping and dropping and dropping. Now we're starting to take back these levels, but if you're a part of the Patreon gives you weekly expected moves for some key things. Gold, the Dow, the DIA, IWM, which we can give those to you guys if someone wants them, right? If you're trading DIA or IWM and you come to the live chat, just ask to see them, and I'll give you those weekly ranges. We just don't talk about them on the YouTube videos often. We will talk about them every once in a while. And then if you want things like Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Nvidia, like all these other stocks that we do normally look at on the right side of your screen, Netflix is one that we don't have. Maybe we'll start adding some of those to it, but AMC, GME, maybe I should move these up so Netflix is below it. But all of these, we do have those weekly moves over on Patreon. Apple is up. Apple is up, and this is very important for Apple. You need that 30-minute to make that move higher. There is a risky thing happening here with Apple. I think it was on the daily. Maybe it's on the daily. Let me see. Yeah, if this daily fails to cross, we curl back down again on a 2 hour. You notice, I think we got a couple of curl downs here, but we are curled down on the 2 hour. So you have to be aware that we're creating this almost weird structure, like a triangle here. We're reacting up, we're getting that handle, we're getting a handle. Can we actually break through? That's going to be the big thing. But there is a way for this to drop through. That would be if this 2 hour can actually see a strong move go negative, and I believe take out these levels. If you take out these levels, I think you're going to test this low, go make a new one, and that's when we'll pay attention for. Maybe some reversal signals, but just note that this is a big triangle with a couple of fake outs, right? And then we broke that. We could see that react back up to that level, or we could not. Do I think Apple is the most clear trade setup in the world right now? No. Actually, Tesla, if this gives the simple swing trade, this one might be simple. But, you know, everything kind of depends on NVIDIA earnings this week as far as can these things hold. That might make a reversal signal right away. AMC, let's go look at that real quick. And TLT is dropping as well. We'll take a look at that. The bond market will fight against all the things that Trump wants to do because it makes sense, right? Tariffs can be inflationary. All the things that he's saying, he wants lower rates, he wants tariffs, he wants all these things. That's inflationary, especially to the bond market. So they're thinking those rates will have to hold higher. You're seeing Jerome Powell also talk about the fact that, hey, we probably can't hurry up in the cutting of rates. And I think that's especially a reaction to Donald Trump. Now, what you want to see from AMC, this 2 hour is still positive. I was really liking that 437. We've used that level before, right? We've used that level a few times when we break through it pretty cleanly, good moves. So we can look for 437 again, see if that can curl up into positive territory. The thing with AMC is you need the daily, you need the 2 hour, you need the 30-minute all crossed up and showing these green bars on the histogram at the same time. That's when it might be on. right? We were finding those little signals in here. The 30-minute divergences in here, they led to that cross, the 2-hour cross shortly after. Good move. Awesome. I made some on one of my options positions, 230% or something like that. Very good. But it's a small position. I'm not trying to make loads of money off AMC. It's very volatile. They can fight the stock down at any time. You know that the weekly expected moves were up in this area. That's where the fight really begins. Now your expected move, where you need to get past to see something crazy, 496. 496. Let's check in on its big older brother, GME. That thing's looking okay. It does have more room to drop. I really like the level. If we can get down to 2350-ish, that would be really nice, I actually think, to turn around from that area. But we'll see if that actually happens. Right now, you just have to understand, the MACD is telling you 2-hour pullback. That's all it's telling you. Until that changes, we can't talk differently about it. If that changes, we will tell you, right? We'll say, hey, this is curling up. Even though it's way up here, that's what you need to happen. You need all these things green at the same time, know how to manage trades. That's the best thing you can do. If you need that level for GME to see something crazy, 3104. 3104. As far as it goes for TLT, you're still in an area, you're getting tight now, which is kind of good. It's kind of good. You saw how we were kind of seeing this start to spread out, and now you're getting tight. So right when, and this has been a wonky trade. I've been patient with it because I invest in TLT at certain times. I'm looking for this to base out, but you'll notice that 30 minutes curling down. So do I want to see that? No, I don't want to see that to actually go into one for this to go up. I want to see that 30-minute flip back around. If that 30-minute can flip back around, you have a crossing up really close to the center line. You have great basing out signals. You have great little 2-hour signals that have not confirmed. So once that 2-hour confirms, that's when I'll most likely make a decision here. Now, why are these going to spike all of a sudden? Why are the yields about to drop for some reason? Is that going to be a big pop in TLT and cause those yields to seriously drop? Why would that happen? That's what we need to talk about going forward as we see if this is going to produce, and maybe we need to pay attention to some news with that. All right, let's go check over in on our buddy here at the SPY. Let's see what's going on. Now, first of all, in the beginning of the day, you're seeing this little wick down to the zone, right? We're seeing if this can cross up. We got 21 minutes left in the bar. So we can see if that crosses up, the most likely thing to happen, because this is the initial curl up from a buy zone, is to at least react to the daily expected move, 589.86. Now, does that have to? No, it could simply be controlled, right? And we see this, and then it just drops one more time. This is the signal we are looking for, right? So I'm not going to play some little day trade up to a daily expense. Not what I do. I'm a position style guy. I like to take positions 2 weeks to 2 weeks to 2 months out. That's most of the time what I do. And right now, I'm not seeing any reason to take a 2-week play. I'm going to get my other charts up real quick as this market has opened up. I'm just going to check on some things over here. Let me turn on my other charts real quick. Where is it? My trading layout. Perfect. Okay. Just awareness here for pretty solid there. Okay, what a gap up here. I did want to check on gold because that was one of the ones that was outside of a monthly expected move pretty dramatically and actually giving some 30-minute signals in some way. They just weren't playing out the best. But gold was way outside of a monthly expected move. Do you know what this move just did? And it's reacting to 241.04. So be cautious with 241.04. That can be resisted, but you are trying to take back the 5. You are seeing this dip down like this. You're seeing all the little divergence points all across this. Not the best, but you do have them. Very interesting, right? Not very flowy. But you do have them for the 2-hour to pop. Does the 2-hour have some kind of major reversal? Not necessarily. So gold is doing something cool here because it saw a big reaction outside of a monthly expected move and a weekly expected move last week. And now you're reacting back into, with that move right there, you're reacting back into a monthly expected move, which is kind of crazy to see because you were pretty well outside of it, right? So very interesting there from gold. And Bitcoin trying to hold level here. I'm interested if Bitcoin, which you can kind of read into for all the coins, right? Bitcoin, the signal I would be looking for here is the 2 hour has really based out. You're seeing all the terrible little divergences in here really close to the center line, so it's kind of risky. So what I want to wait for is, do I get a 4 hour confirmation? That 4 hour confirmation can help me a lot. It can tell me, okay, we're breaking above this level, we're crossing on this MACD, we most likely will see this extend for a little bit of time. How high up will that go? It's kind of like up in the air. But I would also say that 100,000 is what a lot of people are looking for. Okay, 100,000 is what a lot of people are looking for. So if this 4 hour can curl up, you might just have a simple swing trade. Look at the last simple swing trade. Boom. Now that one was a little bit rough, but let's look at a swing trade from the past. This is still above the 200 on the 4 hour. We see that crossing above the MACD, getting above all the moving average, taking back the 5, and boom. Solid move. So if we get that here, after we've moved sideways for quite some time, Bitcoin can see the move higher. If that's not going to happen, then this 2 hour is going to start to go negative pretty soon, and we're in a deeper pullback for the time being. Yeah, I just wanted to point out Bitcoin because of that 4 hour. It's just, if you didn't know, on Bitcoin, on anything that's futures, Bitcoin, stuff that trades longer than the regular trading hours, I like to open it up to, I don't look at 30 minutes. I like to open it up to 2 hours, 4 hours, and daily charts. Which Mara really suffering, right? Great move up, got past our sell zone, right, our resistance zone. Now it's dipping way down. We can pay attention to, well, where we really wanted to break through, and we held up 2 head higher, something like 1873. I think that would be good there. All right, let's pop back over to the SPY. We're going to chill. I'm just trying to get to a lot today because of that power line issue that apparently is going to start in a bit. So if the stream randomly just stops, just know that they're probably working on our power. We have a big storm here. Qs, are they able to curl up? So they're trying to curl up right now. Trying to curl up there too. Palantir is tanking, and Palantir, the risk to reward. And the interesting thing about Palantir was you have a ton of divergence all across this, and you see how it's held on the RSI the entire time. Down, 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 down. Okay, so that's held the entire time. This does mean Palantir might have some bigger weakness in it. This might mean the 2 hour is actually going to see something bad. That is divergence there. You have to be aware that can cause a more dramatic pullback. I think a lot of people were paying attention to this level in here, like right around these lows towards 53.50. That is probably a decent one to look at. You just have to be aware that that's a 2 hour signal. And if that goes negative, you can experience a daily pullback, which means you could revert back to the 20, which happens to be right around that 53 to 53.50 level. If you're going to see something deeper, most likely you're going into this block right here. But that could be a drop of, that'd be like, what, 15 points? 25%? That'd be a lot. My favorite position, it depends on what the market is. If it's a bull market, my favorite thing to do is just play monthly options. If it's a bear market, I like 2 week, 4 week plays. So 2 week plays most of the time will pop up a lot of the time. So yeah, I don't like the look of that. The daily does have a chance to pull back here. Notice I'm saying pullback too. We don't have reversal signals that say this has to be a major top. This could do this and then turn right back up and then do that, and that's when we'll pay attention. But Palantir saying, hey, I might correct here a bit. If that continues for a while, we don't see the shorter time frames curl up, we can correct on the daily scale. PCC opening up right in the middle. We notice that kind of in the middle there, 0.85. 0.85 for the PCC. 0.85 for the PCC. All right, now we're going to, I'm actually going to check on IWM and DIA. We noticed that these saw a bigger drop. Remember, these are the ones that gave us the hint as well. This is the 30-minute divergence that led to a drop, right? 30-minute divergence led to the big drop. So we got a hint here. Awesome. We came outside of that weekly expected move. What could we do? We could see that reaction up to the 5, reject off of it, then create the stronger base, right? We're starting to see something pretty fluid here. If we're not going to create that, then you're going to see bigger time frames roll. And then you want to see, hey, are we getting a bounce that I can maybe take the, because if the trend shifts down, you want to play that trend. The DIA, which is the ETF for the Dow Jones, also gave you a hint. Divergence, right? And it never curled back up. It was controlled, so it had a good shot, and then it started to get a little less controlled, right? Get a little less, and then big drop. So this thing, yeah, it curled up for a second, went right back to negative. That's a bad sign. So you did have a signal here for DIA saying, hey, I'm going to go to lower prices for some kind of pullback. If we really look at this, if this kind of direction continues, then that would be worrisome. But if we can show that we're tapering in some way, right? If we have this, and we can show that we're going to taper in some way and change that to this, that's when we'll be paying attention as well, right? Divergences are very good when they pop up when you start to taper off on these bigger moves down and up. You'll start to see those. SPY flipping to negative right now. Negative right now. So if we're not going to get that cross up today or this morning, maybe we do end up down here and then we get that cross up. Then we turn back down. Then we turn back up, right? This can take a long time to play out. That's why I'm encouraging patience, right? Wait for the signal. We didn't talk too much about Tesla. Tesla, we're really just seeing, hey, is this 2 hour going to curl up into positive territory, right? Is this 2 hour going to curl up? We see one divergence point for the RSI, not on the MACD at the same time. So that leads me to believe if this 2 hour does cross up, it's got a very good shot to take out this high, go make a new one, right? That's why I have weekly expected moves. So if I have a weekly expected move and then this crosses up and goes like this and then fails and crosses up and goes like this and then fails, now I have a divergence that's actually significant. Now I would have a divergence that's actually significant on both indicators at the same time. Because this one's very flat and not on the MACD, which means most likely this is a pullback. This is very controlled. So that is good for Tesla. And it's taken back the 5-day moving average. So all of this says, hey, we could get a swing up, but the opportunity might not last too long. Pay attention to a weekly expected move. With these big gap ups, by the way, that MACD can cross even later, right? You'd like that to build up a little bit throughout a 2 hour bar, build up through a 2 hour bar, and then that would most likely be crossing on the MACD. So when it gaps up, it takes a little bit longer to cross up. So that opportunity might be not the best. There's a big implied volatility for Tesla. I might even look at that move. Ooh. Okay. You actually might get to a weekly expected move sooner than you think. It's actually much closer than I thought. Your weekly expected move does not exceed this high. If you want the exact weekly expected moves for each stock that we do cover during our YouTube videos and a few others, Microsoft, Google, Palantir, right, all of those ones, well, you can get that down in the description on Patreon. They're very, very freaking helpful. Let me go look at this real quick. Let's look at Palantir. All right, because it has a decent amount. Palantir right away, hitting a weekly expected move. So we'll see if we can hold up. This signal is suggesting if we start to break through that weekly expected move, you can see something crazy to the downside. Because this signal is just now confirming you have a lot of room down for the RSI. So if we're not able to whip back up on a 30-minute, that could get worrisome. One thing you always want to pay attention to is that level that you really need to break through, and that would be 58.67, somewhere in here. And then maybe we're reacting down to that, hitting a weekly expected move, seeing some kind of bounce, and then we drop again. Just want to be careful if this does turn back up and then turn right back down, or turn down, hold down here at lower levels, turn up, turn right back down, right? Because that would be, oof, 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 not the best look. But you are hitting a weekly expected move. That means that you have a 68% chance to land above this level right there. I'm just going to notify you about that now because that's a pretty damn big drop for Palantir. DJT, we're noticing that 30-minute trying to cross as of this morning. We got to see if this thing can hold up, right? The DJT, if that crosses, I'm looking for this. I'm looking for that. That's going to be a pretty solid little opportunity there if that shows its face. There. Pretty decent. Nice. We'll look at this one later on. By the end of the day, we might be looking at this. I like these setups. If it sets this up, you have 2 out of the 3 for a golden setup for DJT. You have 2 out of the 3, which if you have 2 out of 3 and you see a daily that can swing up, if you get 2 out of 3, that's a good sign. Obviously, the stock can go down. Right? Obviously, the stock can go down anytime, but those signals would say that this daily has a good chance to curl up into positive territory. AMC now down 2.12%, going down to our 437 level. Do we have any reversal signals from the 30-minute? No, you are extremely negative here. Very negative for AMC. Because you're just turning straight down. You haven't seen any kind of wick up, anything like that. You're just facing down. GME trying to hold up a little bit better, but just now starting to go negative. So just watch out. We could be in a further 2-hour pullback for these guys. Q's holding a little bit better, but starting to fade that move. Haven't crossed up yet. We got 6 minutes left, and the SPY is negative, so this would be not the best curl up on the 30-minute. This is why I'm not going to play some little 30-minute play, right? It's kind of like this. Do you really think, like, was this the opportunity, the first curl up, or was the better opportunity over here the second one? And the second one's usually always. The second and third ones are usually the better opportunities to see that move come to fruition. Unless it's just some kind of big swing. How low do I think it'll go before earnings? Well, the problem with trying to track that before earnings is because those expected moves get so spread out with earnings, you most likely won't end up down towards or up towards a weekly expected move very early, right? I just pay attention to main levels, and that would be my weekly expected moves. The options market gives me the support and resistance I need to pay attention to every single week. That's why we give it away on Patreon. That's why people see it as super useful, because those levels get tagged. I mean, look at last week with AMC and GME. Where did it perfectly start to see resistance? A weekly expected move, right? The level that the market maker does not want it to get through. The algorithm could take over and that thing could skyrocket. They don't want those to get through there. But that happens in individual stocks all the time. People take profit at those levels, right? If it's a good move and things like that. There's call walls, sell walls at that place. So with NVIDIA, the problem with trying to find how low this could go or how high this could go before earnings is that weekly expected move is pricing in the earnings, right? A lot more options are coming in with the earnings. You have a pretty big implied volatility. So more so we'd pay attention to, oh, gap fill did not hold up. Where would we hold up next? Well, we have some key levels, right? We want to see these lows. Right now, technically, you're trying to make a low, right? If we really look, these grander scheme of things, higher low, this was a shortened higher low. So we'll see if that is going to be a lower low, that gets a bounce, that leads to another lower low. That would happen most likely with the earnings. But earnings is a 50-50 flip. That's why I'm just going to stay away from this thing. Doing technicals at all on this is, you know, not the best, because earnings can just really cause people to seriously buy a stock no matter what it looks like, seriously sell a stock no matter what it looks like. And that could be already, you know, decided because this market is run by people that are richer than all of us. Well, this market's run by them, so we have to figure out what Wall Street wants to do with NVIDIA, not just what the earnings is. And usually that's very hard to tell. Maybe we could look at options data and see, but or the walls, let's see, actually that's a good idea. Let's do that. That can maybe give us a level to pay attention to. So let's do that, because I'm sure everyone's interested in NVIDIA. Okay, so for the week, you have a lot of calls. That call wall is sitting around 150. For the put side, the first put wall you really have is 140, and you just lost that. So the next level we can look at is 135. 135. Ooh, Bitcoin not able to really confirm up that 4 hour. Starting to turn down a little. Yeah, NVIDIA showing major weakness too. 30-minute getting pretty oversold. But 135, we could react all the way down to in here, right? So I could even mark that off, right? I could get myself a little line here. I could go like this, maybe not have it that freaking bold. Put a little white line and say, hey, that's the level. That's the level where I know there's a put wall. Now, is that put wall massive? No, it is not a big put wall. A lot of calls in the stock right now. A lot of calls in NVIDIA here. NVIDIA can cause a stock market crash because it's such a big stock. If they actually come out, someone catches them in any of the illegal reporting of revenues, or they just produce bad numbers, that thing can fall and they can cause a correction like by themselves, right? People will read into NVIDIA heavily. But do I want to mess with the stock when that thing could see a massive move up or down? I mean, what was it? 150 was the call wall. That right there is 5%. And that's not even the weekly expected move. You could go up or down 10% just on the earnings day alone. That's just not something I want to mess with too much. All right, GME starting to produce some downside, starting to curl over some bigger charts, right? But the 2 hour overall just saying pullback. SPY acting like, hey, I have some more work to be done. We still have to see how this develops. Tesla, great move. Oof, but that weekly expected move is like right above you. It's just too close. Maybe we drop now and we create a 30-minute divergence with volatility. Interesting. All right. Let's go back over to the SPY, just check on this. Well, we haven't really done anything, seeing that slow movement throughout the day. NVIDIA 135 seems logical, and that's where the put wall is. That's where that put wall is. That's what I would probably like to see before an earnings, then you just have to see what happens with earnings. If you're at 135, let me just be very clear about how dangerous earnings can be. If you're at 135, you are closer to the downward expected move than the upward expected move. And if you see that expected move of 10% with earnings from 135, you are going to be, well, let's just say on the SPY, let's just say this is NVIDIA, you're going to be way below this line, which means crazy things can start to happen, real crazy. All right, so just be very, very cautious with NVIDIA earnings. It is one that I will not be touching at all this week. And I will just look at the move afterwards and say, oh, cool, earnings did something, right? I'm not going to try to guess which way it could go. I'm just going to sit there and go, hey, if they need a correction, they're going to probably use NVIDIA to do it because it's a big stock. If they want to see that Christmas rally be absolutely insane, they'll probably use NVIDIA to do it. I'm more just going to read into what does the overall market want to do. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to see if something like this sets up, know that if that does produce something that can fail, know how to manage my risk, and then I'll be good to go. It will be, I might even stay out of everything until after NVIDIA earnings to see which direction the stock market really wants to go, because it's such a big stock. Someone asking about what is your GME loss support on the 30-minute? What's your base? Well, for this week, that serious base I do change every single week for GME. So as of right now, if you're talking about the serious base for GME, probably around, well, actually, what's this? It's probably around $22 to $20 in my opinion. But I want to see basing out signals. I'm not going to call something a base. I'm not going to just read into a price, a line on a chart and say, hey, this is where it's going to base out. I want to go, hey, let me see if we get that move up. Let me see if we get that move down. Let me see if that turns back up. And then after the move does this, I'm not going to try to call a base here. I'm just going to say, if that does turn around, that would be a signal this is a base. And then this is where I make a decision. This is where I say, okay, this has a high probability of being a base, and then it will prove itself by keep going in the upward direction with the trend, right? So I'm not going to try to mark a level and be like, yeah, that's a base. Like, no, I'm going to see if there are expected moves. I'm going to see if there are options data near those levels, and then see if there's reversal signals on my indicators. That will help me a lot. But there was one that someone just mentioned that I wanted to look at for you. Let me go look. I'll look at my other charts real quick, and then we'll look over at who just mentioned this other one. Maurice. Yeah, Maurice, I was going to look at GDX for you. Just so you know, I do have weekly moves for GLD, and you're already getting kind of close to it, to be honest. You're getting kind of close to that weekly. Now, you did see something crazy. You're getting back in a monthly, so it makes sense if we see something crazy in the other direction. It does make sense if we see something crazy in the other direction. It does. Okay, so just be aware of that. You're getting a 2 hour to finally show some positivity here. That's great. All of this is good. Is this going to produce some kind of big daily move to the upside? It can. It can. The only problem is the likelihood. This could be a retest and fail right now, because we didn't even make that shoulder to give us this. We just broke it. So now anytime, that's why we have this 241.04 marked off, because look at this. This is the obvious first resistance, very obvious first resistance. And when you do make that head and shoulders, what do you like to do when you break it? You like to retest that area. If we take it back, that can be a good sign that that might be a blip, but you want to see if that curls down again at any time. Okay, so really for GLD, you're in this area. And if we go over and we look at gold miners or something like that, right? GDX, we're not going to see the same thing, but you're going to see almost like worse signals, right? These highs in here are great. And this one actually violated all the divergences you were creating. So that's great. But now you've seen low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. Uh-oh. Now we have a low with a high. Are we going to make that lower high to confirm you are in a negative trend? And maybe we briefly go positive and turn back down, and then we start getting that series of lower lows. So I would be cautious with this. This is an area where I do think gold can bounce because of those monthly expected moves, right? So I want to treat it like that. We saw some little divergences on GLD. That's all great. But I just want to be aware that this is much different than this. Now you got are we going to, and by the way, that weekly expected move for GLD is up in these areas. For GLD, you're at it right now, so I'm guessing GDX might be at or going towards one right now. And if you get excited like this and you just turn down, you could go bloop, bloop. This could be a shifting of a trend, and you could just be in a counter trend move for the beginning of it. Oxy, let's go look at Oxy, because that one was great. Bad on the earnings initially, and then wicked right back up, still holding the daily signal. That is great to see. The 2 hour here was able to confirm down. So when the 2 hour confirms down, that tells me, hey, I gotta manage risk, I gotta manage risk. You're thankful, though, that this is relatively tight. So if you've been managing risk in this and you're waiting still for if that 2 hour is going to go positive, well, all you're doing is creating more liquidity, more of a base. So if that does curl up and you cross through these levels, you got a good shot that this is a bottom for Oxy. You have a very good shot that this is a bottom for Oxy. Now, you have a good shot if all the things we just said do happen, right? You had a good shot right here, didn't play out. You had a good shot actually over here, didn't play out, but we formed a pretty obvious level if we can burst through and hold up at that to head into that positive trend, right? But the good part is it's pretty tight. So if I was managing risk or scaling into moves, I would like this. And then I just got to see if that's going to play out. Because if not, this 2 hours is just going to keep heading down. That daily's not going to be able to curl up anymore. That's just going to curl down into negative territory. That's when you start to go, that's bad. Because this could be some form of flagging, some form of consolidation to continue the trend it's in right now. It is still in a negative trend. That is very obvious because we have been negative for a while. See how we're below that center line? These are all things that we go over in the course too, by the way. Very good to understand what the MACD is, what makes up the MACD, what this is, what the center line is, and when to pay attention. This is the time to pay attention for that reversal, but it's also saying if this daily crosses, we can see some ugly price action. If that's brief, we go like, okay, it's back to looking pretty. Right now, I think it looks actually still kind of good. If that crosses down, I'm going to say the exact opposite. SMCI, very good move. SMCI was interesting, and I looked at this morning. There it is. I looked at SMCI this morning because SMCI is very interesting. You saw back here, we made these divergence points, and then we only went sideways, and then the trend continued. That's what you have to be aware of with Oxy, right? It's building, building, building. What if that just drops down? That's not a good sign. Now, the reason I wanted to pay attention to it now was because if I pay attention to the 2 hour, the 2 hour can tell me that daily looks like it wants to cross up. The 2 hour can tell me if that's going to see a higher probability of crossing up with the weakness and momentum. Am I seeing weakness and momentum here? I actually am. I'm seeing a great divergence on the MACD. I wouldn't say the best divergence in the world on this RSI. If we blow that up, you can see it is in the upward direction. So that's pretty significant, right? That's pretty significant when we blow it up. So you do have those reversal signals, and notice what happened from that. That's great, right? So we saw that we curled up right here, and then the next time, ooh, a couple bars later, we see a great upside move. Now, this is where I need a weekly expected move and things like that. You will see consolidation. We want to see, right now we have lows. We want to see if that can react up, create a higher low, right? We want to see that change. We want to see that change so we can start to just bounce up. Right now, you're a bouncy ball just heading down the stairs. Bouncy ball heading down the stairs, not a good sign. But this is a good sign that that daily can see some kind of reversal if that can hold. Notice it is not, this would be a good trade initially out of the gate, right? You're going from 1876 all the way up to 23 almost dollars. That's great. I can make a weekly expected move. Maybe my weekly expected move was right here. I'm guessing SMCI has a pretty big implied volatility since NVIDIA earnings is here, but the reversal signals are here. Now you just got to pay attention. Hey, is the 30-minute crossing down? Because if that 30-minute crosses down, how close is it to the center line? How close is it to continuing the negative trend? It's very, very close, guys. It's not above that center line. It is not up here. It's right there. So if that 30-minute crosses down, bad. Right now, it looks good. And if that daily crosses up, it looks even better. We'll see. All right, now that we've been off the SPY for a little bit, let's go check on that. All right, so we did get a curl up here of the MACD. Now, the important thing to look at is look at the bar. That is flat. That is flat. Okay, so that does not have to produce positivity. Now we're seeing positivity, which is great. We got to see if that can trickle up, trickle up, trickle up, and then people are like, ooh, that's the bottom, and then the next day they could just rug pull it. Or maybe they say, ooh, that's the bottom, and they're right. But the way that we'll know if more momentum to the upside is coming is if this 2 hour crosses. If the 2 hour is going to cross, I do not think that will happen by getting to this line. I think you're going to need more positivity than that. right? If we get to this line, it's close to crossing. If we can close above it, then you're actually taking back this 9 and maybe going to loop it back around. See the 9 on the 2 hour? Got to pay attention to that thing, even with little 2 hour cross ups. I still think it is more probable to carve out a stronger base. Or at least the better way to put it is, I believe there will be a good trade setup if we carve out a stronger base. If we just curl up on a 2 hour, swing trade to the upside. Awesome. Cool. I can play that if I want. All right, let's see. All right, I haven't heard anything yet. It's supposed to be in about 15 minutes or so that they start working on stuff here. So I got a little bit more time. Oh, volatility went negative. Okay, so this is good. This is good. We want to see if this is turning down. Maybe we even need to look at an hourly chart here because this was pretty extended. Yeah, this is pretty extended. So if this hourly gets down, I really do like my 1504 level. This is one that we just showed you guys, right? I just showed you this. This is on my charts for volatility. It's just a level I like to pay attention to. I like to mark off those levels, and those levels go way back, like way, way back, like years and years and years back. Levels to pay attention to, just like 1212. So the fact that we're squeezing, well, if we're going to see that Santa rally, we're probably going to start seeing us go down to 1212 for volatility. Okay, but a lot can happen before we actually get that rally. I think that if we do see a rally, a Santa rally, it might be mid-December to like December 20, like right before, and then we start to base out and see it. If we get the corrective move, we'll see. But something to note here is the hourly was able to cross today. It's a big downward move. Heading to the downside, that would be great, and then we'll see if that can curl back up into positive territory. We get a bigger dip, and that's the look I'm looking for. I think the hourly might be smoother here, but we'll still pay attention to a 30-minute on here and on the SPY at the same time. So now that you're seeing that hourly, you're going, okay, this really does look like we could go reach up to that expected move. Then maybe we see that resistance come in, and that's where I think the trade setup will be. GDX looking good, still trying to base out, still actually heading higher, by the way. I pulled it up on my other screen. I don't have like 8 screens over here. It just looks too controlled, doesn't it? So if you wanted this to be a V shape, you need to see a bar. You need to see a bar. If you want this to be some kind of cup and handle, you need to see some gradual grow up to here, and it's able to hold up without crossing back down on the 30-minute. I really think you're more likely, as this is controlled, if this is going to remain controlled for most of the day, right? We just go like this, and then we end up turning down at some point. And then we'll see what happens going on to Wednesday. It can draw out for a long time. And if we make a reversal, the sad part is, if we make a reversal signal, NVIDIA can just ruin that. Let's look at Apple. Did that curl up? Okay, Apple did curl up on the 30-minute. That's a good sign. Tesla, oh my goodness, you're already seeing something crazy, aren't you? Tesla, if it moves above this high, it is saying it's doing something crazy. Just be cautious if that thing turns back down by the end of the week. If this does happen, Tesla's doing something a little... It's a big gap up. And Tesla's doing something a little crazy early on in the week here. Oh, GME flipped back to positive. Very good. Need the 30-minute to go positive, need the 2 hour to go positive for AMC and GME. And we'll see. Still think. Yeah, so our level of 437 looking pretty good there. Nice little wick. Remember, that 2 hour turns up, that's when we pay attention. me check my phone, make sure I'm not getting a text. Okay, so it looks like they are going to be working on that stuff. So I do have to hop off, see if those 2 hours can turn up. Remember, on this, now we're seeing the strength. We'll see if that can continue. That would be a actually good sign if we're going to see some kind of rapid basing out. Just notice we've reacted below the 5. We could reach up and tag that bad boy and just turn right back down, right? No basing out signals. We will go over this further, and I will hop back on the live stream if I can. They're about to shut off our power, so they're fixing something. So I will get back to you guys later on today. If I can use my phone to post some stuff to Patreon if I see it. So we'll pay attention to that going forward. But for the most part, guys, we're waiting for those basing out signals. We're waiting for the swing trade to confirm. We have to be a little bit patient and then watch out for NVIDIA earnings. That's going to be the big deal. If you're hoping some big things happen from AMC and GME, you got to see momentum curl up. You know, it's not a random occurrence. These indicators will show you when momentum is heading up. When those big moments are going to happen, these momentum indicators do turn up. So that's important to look into throughout the week is, am I seeing good signals? And that's a big deal. I hope you guys had a great time this morning. I'm sorry I have to cut the video a little bit short. Hopefully they can resolve things over here and I can come back on the live show later today. If not, I will see you guys on YouTube later today. Okay, if we're going to see something bad happen, it's good to check out that course. If you need to understand technical analysis a little bit more, understand these weekly ranges, get to know a little bit more about the MACD and RSI, that course is down there in the description. It is 90% off. You can literally grab both courses down there. Both are 90% off for $150. That is going away November 31st. Sometimes we like to give people the weekend and one live stream in case they had questions over the weekend. But right around November 31st, that is going away. So get it while it lasts. But thank you guys so much for being here, like and subscribing. It is fantastic. It's a lot of fun for me. I used to just trade by myself all alone all the time. And now I get to talk to you guys and we get to bounce stuff off each other. So I really do enjoy it. And I thank you guys for being a part of this community. Have a great day. All the luck in the world with your trades, guys. Trade like water, manage risk. You'll be just fine. Peace out.